everyone. Meet me again, Alicia from the AIBPM Nusantara staff. So thank you for your participation in this online class with AIBPM. And today we will have Mr. Kuek Yong from University Tunku Abdul Rahman, Malaysia, as the speaker, which will explain about the cross-cultural management practices. And before we will start the class, I want to inform you if I will share the attendance links for today's class in the end of the class. So please stay tuned until the end. Okay, great. Thank you, everyone. So next, I would like to introduce you our speaker today, Mr. Kuek Thiam. So please wait. I will share. Okay, so Mr. Kuek Thiam Yong is a Malaysian academic with over 18 years of experience at University Tunku Abdul Rahman, where he currently serves as a lecturer in the Department of Business and Public Administration, Faculty of Business and Finance. He joined UTAR on November 1 at 206, and Mr. Kuek research interests encompass corporate governance, management, organizational behavior, and tourism. His academic career is marked by numerous research projects, journal articles, and conference proceedings, reflecting his expertise in corporate governance, management, and education. His early career included roles in financial service, research, and education advisory, contributing to his diverse professional background. He has also led and participated in several funded research projects on topics ranging from postgraduate education selection factors to digital adoption in the corporate sectors. His work has been published in various journals, books, and conference proceedings, including studies on strategic management models, job certifications, and the impact of AI in education. Mr. Kuek's experience extends beyond academia, with contribution to industry-oriented projects, such as the RAW Integrated Tourism Development Blueprint and Productivity Solution for SMEs in Malaysia. In addition to his professional pursuits, Mr. Kuek has a keen interest in martial arts and has contributed to periodicals discussing the relevance of martial art in modern society. He remains committed to advancing research, teaching, and community engagement in the field of business and finance. So, for Mr. Kuek Thiam Yong, the time is yours.
Thank you very much, Alicia, for the introduction. Hello. Good day to everyone. I was informed that this particular class consists of students from different countries or nationalities. Before that, let me share my slide. Let me see. I think I'll share the entire screen because I'll be moving around. Share. Can you see my computer, the desktop?
Yes, yeah, we can see.
Okay. So it'll be easier because later on I'll be sharing some videos as well as one clip from YouTube. Okay. Okay, so basically for this particular topic is about cross-cultural management practices, which I believe is quite relevant since most of you are from different countries or from from different nationalities and maybe from different ethnicity as well. Basically, races are different races and so on. Okay, so as what Miss Alicia had mentioned earlier on, okay, I'm Mr. Kuek and I'm from Utah, University Tunku Abdul Rahman from Malaysia. Now, before we go into the details of these cross-cultural management practices, okay, let's look at the quote, okay, by this particular person here. Okay, Sundar Pichai. Of course, being a business leaders, okay, he has quite a number of business quotes, okay, but I purposely picked this quote because it's relevant to what we are going to discuss for today. A diverse mix of voices leads to a better discussions, decisions, and outcomes for everyone. Okay. So basically, this particular Mr. Sundar Pichai, okay, is the CEO for Alphabet Incorporated. And maybe some of you are not aware, okay, what is this company called Alphabet Incorporated? Okay. But if you know Google, okay, this particular company, then you should know that Google is part of the so-called subsidiary company, okay, under Alphabet Incorporated. Okay, so what Mr. Pichai wants to tell us is that diversity tends to bring more benefits to that particular organization, especially in terms of decision-making process. Okay, in short, this is what it wants to tell us. So diversity is a common theme in the workplace nowadays. I believe if you look at the companies nowadays, okay, the workers, the employees will come from different backgrounds, okay, like different nationalities, different age, different gender, okay, and so on. So if we look at the next slide, okay, this is actually some statistics from a survey, okay. This is a source. If you're interested, you can have a look at this particular so-called survey in details. This particular survey looks only at the Southeast Asia, okay, region. So if you look at this particular question, my company actively considers workplace diversity in its recruitment and hiring practices, okay? How many of these companies in each of these regions, like Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, agree to this statement, okay? Roughly, it's actually more than half, okay? If you calculate by yourself, okay, it's actually more than half, okay? So this shows diversity is very, very important nowadays. Then, of course, we have different type of diversity. Okay, for example, we have these things called gender diversity, male and female, for example, different age group, different educational background. Like some of the workers might have bachelor's degree, some of them might have master degree, okay, doctorate degree, and so on. Then ethnic diversity or the diversity in terms of race. Okay, in Malaysia, for example, it's very common to find Chinese, Malay, Indian, okay, working together, okay, in those organizations or company. Then, of course, the last one, cultural diversity, okay, and this is the things that we want to look at for today, okay, cultural diversity. Before I forget, okay, always remember that all these diversity are always interconnected, okay, in other words, it's linked with each other, and it will influence each other in various ways. For example, whenever we talk about cultural diversity, we cannot run away from ethnic, okay? For example, the ethnic Chinese group, okay, have its own culture. The ethnic Malay group has its own culture and so on, okay? So all of these will tend to influence, okay, each other in various ways. Okay, let's go back to the basic first. What is culture? Okay, so of course, this is, I believe you can read about yourself, okay? But what it means is that it is actually a set, okay, of values or patterns, okay, or norms, okay, that particular group practice or believe in and so on, okay? So overall, this is what it means by culture. Then for culture, it's actually very broad, okay? For example, we can look at it from the ethnic culture, okay? Chinese, as I mentioned, has its own culture, okay? So a very common culture in terms of dining etiquette, okay, is where they tend to use, I mean, like for those traditional type of Chinese, okay, they like to use chopstick, for example, okay, to eat during some meals and so on. Then for the same dining ethic, okay, the Malay, for example, the Malay culture, okay, traditionally, they tend to use hand, okay? They use the hand to eat the rice and so on, okay? So ethnic culture basically means culture from different races, different ethnicities and so on. Then, of course, we can look at culture from the national level, like Malaysia culture, will have similarities and differences, okay, with, let's say, Indonesia culture and so on, okay? Then we can also look at organization culture, okay? Organization culture, for example, it can mean corporate culture. Corporate culture in one company tends to have also similarities and differences with each other, okay, and so on. So, for example, some companies might emphasize more on innovation culture, okay, and some companies tend to emphasize on stability culture and so on, okay? Because all of this comes from the different nature of its business. Okay, so culture. Then we add on a bit, cross-culture, okay? So what does it mean by this thing called cross-culture, okay? So again, you can read about yourself, okay? Basically, the main thing here is actually about integration, okay? Integration. Okay, so here I give you some example. Okay, we go to the food first because I love food. Okay, we go have a look at this fusion of food first. Now, let's look at this first part. Okay, so nasi lemak sushi, okay, is actually the combination of nasi lemak, comes from Malaysia. Okay, sushi, I believe everyone knows that sushi traditionally comes from Japan. So it is Malaysian plus Japanese culture, okay, created this particular nasi lemak sushi. Okay, then how about this? Mapo tofu lasagna. Okay, so mapo tofu is actually a dish that comes from the Chinese culture. Okay, lasagna. Okay, if you know Garfield, this is the favorite food of Garfield. Okay, so it is the Chinese culture mixed with the Italian culture. Okay, so we created this mapo tofu lasagna. Then finally, in Indonesia, okay, you might be able to find this particular dish of food, soto ramen. Okay, now what is this thing called soto ramen? Okay, soto is an Indonesian type of dish. Okay, ramen, as you know, is Japanese. So combined together, we have this type of so-called delicacy, okay, in Indonesia. Then, of course, mixture of languages in daily communication as well, okay? So this is something that is happening as well, integration, okay? So let me see if I have the slide, okay, or not yet. So for example, sometimes in my daily conversations, even if I use my dialect, I actually speak Hokkien, okay? I tend to mix it with some of the Malay words and so on, okay? So I believe this is the same for most of the so-called people nowadays, okay? The mixture of words, okay, from the loan words from different culture, like English culture and so on. Then we add in something else, cross-cultural management. So what is cross-cultural management? In general, it means managing the culture, managing the different culture in that particular workplace or organizations. Okay. Most of the time, whenever we use the word cross-cultural management, it refers to the organization or the workplace itself. So let's see. Now, why is this important? Okay. So as I mentioned, nowadays, a lot of organizations tend to have this particular diversity. Okay. They like to get people from different background, okay, different ethnicity, for example, to work in that particular organizations. Okay. They might put different people with different background, okay, in some team, and that team has a project. They have to collaborate, cooperate, and do it together and so on. Okay. So when you are able to manage it properly, it will enhance this. It will enhance communication and the team dynamics, okay, in that particular team or in that particular organization and so on, okay. How will it help? Basically, it bridge, okay, the different communication style, okay. different culture have their own style, okay, in terms of so-called communicating, okay. So for example, in terms of the non-verbal language of the Western side, okay, whenever they speak, okay, they like to have this particular eye contact, okay, with another person, okay, and this eye contact is not for a while, okay, it's very long, okay. For them, this is very normal. For Eastern culture, okay, like us, okay, Asian, for example, okay, most of the time, okay, yes, we still have eye contact, but our so-called eye contact is not forever, okay. Sometimes we'll be looking at other places and then coming back, okay, to that particular person and so on, okay, because we are not so-called secure, okay, to have this particular consistent eye contact. For us, it might mean something like rude and so on. And then when you have this particular cross-cultural management, it will be able to improve the decision making as well. Because different background, different culture might bring different ideas and different perspective, okay, for that particular project, for that particular so-called problem, okay, and so on. Then increase adaptability as well, okay, because especially if you are a multinational companies, sometimes you need to expand your business to other places, okay? Let's say that I have a company in Malaysia. Now I want to set up a subsidiary company in Vietnam, for example, okay? So for that, okay, it is unwise for me, okay, to impose my Malaysian culture in Vietnam itself. Because don't forget, the Vietnam has also its own culture, okay? So it is wise for me to localize. That means I use, okay, the Vietnamese culture as part of my company operation as well, okay? So this is where this is where adaptability is very important in terms of this particular aspect. Okay. Then, in terms of the customers, okay, the external side, the customers and so on, okay, you will have a better customers relations, okay, because you know what the customers want, okay, their tastes, their preference, okay, and so on in different markets, in different countries and so on, okay. Refer the next slide. Let's see. So this is an example of some of the cultural blunders in China, okay? Because at first they failed to understand, okay, the cultural aspect in terms of the language, in terms of the so-called communication aspect, okay, by Coca-Cola as well as by Mercedes-Benz, okay? Now, Coca-Cola, okay, at first, this is how they want to call it in China. Okay, this is actually a direct translation from the English. Okay, if you know how to read Chinese, I'm sure that, okay, you will find that the pronunciation is the same. Coca-Cola. Okay. However, okay, for the Chinese, it means different thing. This is what it means. Okay. So it doesn't create a good reputation for Coca-Cola at that time. Okay, when it first goes into the China market. Okay, but of course, Coca-Cola learned this particular lesson, so they quickly changed it to another name. Okay, so instead of calling it as Coca-Cola, they call it as 可口可乐. Okay, which sounds better because if you translate it, okay, it basically means happiness in the mouth. Okay. Next is Mercedes-Benz. Okay. So this is what it means initially. Okay. Basically, it means going quickly. Okay. Doesn't sound wrong. Okay. However, a lot of people at that time tend to misheard. Okay. Probably they so-called pronounce it very quickly. Misheard as this. Okay. So in terms of translation, it can mean this, rushing toward death. Again, this does not create a good so-called perception on Mercedes-Benz in China at that time. Okay. But of course, Mercedes, just like Coca-Cola, they learn fast. So they quickly change it to this particular Benchy. Okay, which means galloping fast. Okay, before we go to these particular challenges, okay, let's have a look at a video first. Let's have a look at this one first. Let me know if you cannot hear the sound.
Some agencies, it's considered acceptable for a commuter to fall asleep on the shoulder of a stranger.
Okay, so what can we learn from this particular video? This particular video is actually an advertisement from HSBC. Okay, so you see an Asian man, isn't it? Okay, so-called putting his head, okay, on another person's shoulder. All right, this Asian man apparently is from Japan. In Japan, this is very normal. Okay, especially if you're in the subway. Okay, however, if you do that, okay, in other country, especially like in the Western country, okay, especially on another gender, like in our advertisement, okay, the other person do the same thing, but it's on a woman, okay, you can easily get sued for sexual harassment and so on, okay. So that is why if you want to so-called go into another market, okay, you need to know very clearly the cultural aspect of that particular country and act accordingly as well. Okay, so the same means goes with another video. Okay, this one. Okay.
In America, if you had a hole in one, you're expected to buy everyone a drink. However, in Japan, it's traditional to buy your playing partners expensive gifts. Same old. At HSBC, we never underestimate the importance of local knowledge. HSBC, world's local bank.
Okay, again, okay, as mentioned by the so-called voiceover, okay, apparently the Caucasian, okay, the Western man is from US, okay, so it is a custom or the culture, okay, to buy the friends, okay, his friends drink if he score a hole in one, okay. However, if you do the same thing in let's say Japan, okay, it will be no longer beer. Okay, you need to buy expensive gift, okay, to that particular golfing partners of yours as well. Okay, so that is why you better learn what are the culture, okay, of other people, okay, other ethnicity and so on. Okay, so that you will know what to do next time, okay, in that particular country, or when you face them, okay, or when you need to work with them and so on. All right, so let's go back to our so-called slide. There's a point. Okay, So what are the challenges, okay, in terms of this particular so-called cross-cultural management? There are actually quite a number of it, okay? However, we'll just look at 3 of it, okay? The first one, which is one of my so-called interest area, is about communication barriers, okay? So as I mentioned before, different culture will have so-called different types of communication. Communication here refers to both the verbal as well as the non-verbal language, okay? So for example, when I was in so-called in Beijing, okay, in 2012 or 2013 at that time, okay, I had a shock of my life, okay, especially in the public area, because I noticed that a lot of the local, whenever they communicate with each other, okay, their voice is super loud, very, very loud, okay. For me, it seems like they are quarreling, they are arguing with each other. But actually, they are just have a normal chatting, chit-chat with each other and so on, okay? If I do the same thing in Malaysia, for example, I think people is going to whack me, okay? Because of my communication style and so on. Now, let's have a look at some other example. Refer to the next 2 slides, okay? Now, communication. Let's go back to a bit of history, okay? Malaysia, for example, okay, was colonized by British. Okay, British, of course, they use English. Okay, so that's why in terms of Malay language, okay, you can see that we basically means Malaysian, okay. We actually use a lot of English words, okay, like Malay card, okay, comes from the word English card, okay, ticket, okay, auntie, then pencil, and so on. Okay, how about for Indonesian? Okay, Indonesian has a few colony master. Okay, one of them is Dutch. Okay, so in terms of this particular Indonesian language, okay, they also borrow it, okay, from the Dutch language itself. Okay, so these are some of the example. Okay, and now coming back to the current or to the present, okay? How about between Malaysia and Indonesia, okay? So basically, okay, Malaysia and Indonesia are neighbors, okay? We are what we call by as Saudara Nusantara, okay? So that's why we share a lot of similarities, okay? Especially in terms of food culture, as well as the language, all right? However, the same words can mean different things. Like here, for example, apparently Malaysia, percuma, basically it means free, okay? But from here, Indonesian, percuma, it can mean useless and so on. All right, so these are just some example, okay? When I first went to, when I first have an Indonesian friend, okay, in my college at that time, when I was still studying, okay? One of the words that he likes to use is the word bisa, B-I-S-A, okay? Because at that time, I'm quite new, okay, in terms of these Indonesian language things, okay? For me, it sounds very weird. Because for me, bisa in Malay basically means poison, okay? I believe in Indonesia, it means something like can that type of things, okay, and so on, all right? So this is just to show you, okay, same words can have different meanings, okay? Okay. Then another so-called challenges is this, different work ethics and attitudes. Oh, before I forget, okay, communication barriers, I can also give you an example, okay? We can look at it from the Japanese perspective, okay? Japanese, in terms of their writing system, okay, they have 3 types, if I'm not mistaken. Hiragana, katakana, and one more is kanji, okay? Now, if you look at kanji, okay, as an example, you can see that it borrows a lot of these particular kanji characters from the Chinese writing style. Okay, so just to show you one example. Okay, not this one, sorry. Okay, Dragon Ball. Okay, so as you can see, this is a web page of Dragon Ball. Okay, most of it are actually in Japanese writing style. Okay, but just an example, as you can see here. Okay, these four, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, are actually in Chinese characters. Okay, but this is for Japanese. This is kanji. Okay, now the meaning might be the same as the Chinese, or it can be different and so on. Okay, so this one example. Then another example for this particular Japanese communication is where some of the Japanese words, they tend to replace it with English words as well. Okay, so for example, one Japanese word is known as jidosha. Okay, jidosha. Okay, jidosha basically means car or automobile. Okay, but in recent time, okay, modern day, instead of using the word jidosha, they like to use the word car. Okay, Ka, okay, but basically the pronunciation is the same as car. Okay, in English. Then another interesting one that I noticed is the library. Okay. In the olden days, okay, they pronounce the library as Toshokan. Okay. Another interesting feature is that this Toshokan, okay, the Japanese that they use, okay, they actually borrow it from the Chinese. Toshokan is 图书馆. Okay, it's very similar. Okay, basically both means library. Okay, but in recent times, instead of using Toshokan, they replace it with another loan words from English. Okay, which means they use it as Raibururi. Okay, so roughly it's the same as library. Okay, so this is some example of this particular communication aspect. Then, of course, we can look at different word ethics. Hold on. Okay. Now, different word ethics, we can look at from, let's say, the Western culture as well as the Asian culture. Okay. Work-life balance, for example. Western, in terms of the aspect, okay, they take it very seriously. Okay. 9 to 5, for example, is working time. Okay. After that, okay, the bosses are not supposed to disturb their workers. The bosses are not supposed to send a message about work to them after 5, for example. I believe France, okay, they make it a law saying that it is an offense if the bosses disturb their own workers after working hours and so on. Asian, okay, work-life balance is not really balanced, okay. Yes, in the modern times, okay, we try to so-called look more into this, okay, but in terms of practice, okay, sometimes we work more than enjoy our life, okay. Then another aspect is we can look at this from individualism as well as collectivism, okay. Now, Western, okay, they tend to focus more on individualism, okay. So that means that whatever things that they do, okay, in terms of decision making, for example, most of the time it's all about them. Okay, they have the so-called power to make their own decisions. Okay, whatever things that they do in work, okay, is for their own purpose and so on. While for Asian, okay, we are more into collectivism. Okay, of course, I cannot say for 100% Asians. Okay, but I say in general. Okay, in terms of, let's say, decision making process, for example. Okay, we tend to make the decision together and so on. Okay. Then in terms of risk-taking and innovation, okay, we can look at it from the USA culture as well as the Switzerland culture. USA are more into taking risks, okay, as well as tend to be more so-called innovative, okay, as compared to Switzerland. All right. So these are about different work ethics and attitudes from different culture. Then sometimes, okay, why is this a challenge in terms of this particular cross-cultural management? Is because we don't want to change. Okay, resistant to change. Okay. Of course, everyone's love their comfort zone, isn't it? Okay, because in a comfort zone, okay, you can do your things at your own pace. Okay, you have the leisure and so on. Okay, but whenever we talk about cross-cultural management, sometimes you have to do some changes. Okay, to so-called to accommodate or to adapt to another person's or worker's culture and so on. Okay, so to make these particular changes, basically it means that we have to move out from our comfort zone. Okay, some people don't like that. Okay, so they might have this particular resistance to change. Okay, in this particular cross-cultural management aspect. Okay. Now, in terms of this cross-cultural management, there's one thing that's very important. Okay, CQ. Okay, so what is this CQ? Okay, you have heard of IQ before. Okay, IQ is basically about measuring your intelligence. So in other words, it's about how intelligent that particular person is. Then of course, in recent times, we also heard about EQ. Okay, emotional intelligence. So emotional intelligence is about managing our own emotions. Okay. Then now we are looking at CQ, cultural intelligence. So cultural intelligence is basically our ability to understand, to adapt, okay, to the culture of other people, okay, in other places and so on. Okay, in other words, this is what it means by this particular point. Now, why is this important? Okay, basically, in general, the higher your CQ is, okay, the higher your ability in understanding, okay, let's say in other people's culture is as well, okay, the higher your adaptability is, okay, to that particular person's culture as well and so on, okay. So if you are able to do that, okay, you will be able, okay, to navigate the cultural differences at ease, okay. Collaborations, okay, will be much easier for you to do, okay, and definitely this will reduce the misunderstandings that you might have in the future with that particular with that particular colleagues of yours, okay, from another culture and so on. So as I mentioned, adaptability in terms of communication style as well, okay, it's not a problem for you, okay. Then of course, this is all about inclusive work environment, okay, where everyone's culture will be considered, okay, for that particular team, for that particular organization's project and so on. All right. One important thing is that all of us have to remember, okay, there is no such thing as my culture is better than your culture, okay? Your culture is not good without things. There's no such thing, all right? Every culture will definitely have its own good and bad, okay? For everything is also the same thing. Culture is also the same thing as well, all right? So always treat others people's culture with respect, okay, with dignity and so on. Okay, okay, let's move on. Now, if we look at the components of CQ, nowadays we have 4 components. Okay, last time there are only 3: motivational, cognitive, as well as behavioral CQ. Last time. Now we have this meta-cognitive CQ as well. Okay, now let's have a quick look at this. Okay, motivational CQ basically means how willing, okay, are you, okay, to learn other people's culture? How willing are you, okay, to adapt this particular person's culture, okay, into the working style and so on. All right. So this is about motivation. Cognitive basically means how well do you so-called how much knowledge that you have in terms of knowing that particular person's culture, for example. Okay, so this is about knowledge. So metacognitive is about the mental capability. Okay, so do you have the so-called capability, okay, to learn, okay, others people's culture, for example. All right, so this is about metacognitive. Then we have this behavioral CQ. Behavioral CQ is where the actual behavior comes in. Okay, for example, after you know, okay, this particular person's culture, okay, the context of this particular culture, okay, so you respond accordingly. So you behave accordingly based on that particular culture. Okay, so these are the general so-called so-called explanation what motivational, cognitive, meta-cognitive, as well as behavioral CQ is all about. Okay. But however, for every component, there are sub-components as well. Okay. For example, for motivational CQ, okay, there are three: intrinsic, extrinsic, as well as self-efficacy on adjust. Okay. I will just briefly go through every of it. Okay. So intrinsic interest basically means that, okay, how passionate are you, for example, okay, to know others people culture. Okay. Some people, for example, are very interested in others people culture. Okay. I believe some of you are very interested in the Korean culture, isn't it? Especially about this K-pop thing and so on. Okay. Then for some, if they are like me, I like anime and manga. Okay. All these Japanese thing. Okay. You might be interested in the Japanese culture as well. Okay. So this is about intrinsic interest. Okay. Intrinsic basically means within yourself. Okay. Then extrinsic interests are something like rewards. Okay. Rewards, it can comes from monetary rewards like money. Okay. Or non-monetary rewards. Okay. Like give you pet vacation and so on. Okay. So sometimes companies will do that. Okay. Just to motivate, just to get these particular persons to work with another persons, okay, from different culture, okay, to get that particular outcome from that particular project. Okay. Then self-efficacy to adjust. So this is basically about your confidence level. Okay. How confident are you? Okay. In terms of wants to learn others people's culture and so on. Okay. And able to do so. So this is about self-efficacy. Then maybe we jump to cognitive CQ. Okay, we have this. Hold on. I cannot see properly. Okay. Now we have this called culture general knowledge. Okay, for this cognitive CQ. Okay. In terms of the so-called surface level, okay, how well do you know that particular culture? Okay. So for example, you know that this particular Japanese people, before they eat, okay, they like to say these words, itadakimasu. Okay. So on the surface, you know that. Okay. Then context specific knowledge is basically means the details of that particular behavior. Okay. So for example, why is it Japanese people like to mention itadakimasu before they eat? Okay. So in terms of context specific knowledge, okay, it's because they want to express their gratitude. Okay. They want to express their appreciations, okay, to those farmers, fishermen, and even the cooks or the chef who prepare their food. Okay. So that's why they like to say these words, itadakimasu. Okay. Itadakimasu is basically means to humbly receive. Okay. So this is what it means. Okay. So if you know all these type of details, basically it means that you have a good context specific knowledge. Okay. Then we go to meta-cognitive CQ. Although yes, the words cognitive CQ here is a bit different because here is where we go into the specific in terms of trying to learn, okay, others people culture as an example. Okay. So how to do that? First things you must plan. Okay. Let's say that you need to work with a teammate from Korean, for example. Okay. It's a Korean. Okay. So in terms of planning, you try to read up. You try to find out, okay, what are the culture, okay, that you might that you are going to expect from that particular person. Okay. So this is where you plan. Okay? Set your expectations. Okay. Then doing the engagement, doing the interactions. Okay. So this is where you need to be aware. Okay. For every behavior, for every communication in terms of the so-called intonation, okay, when that particular person speaks, you must be aware, okay, of it. Then finally, you check. Okay. Checking here is basically recalibrations. Okay, to check whether or not whatever things that you planned much earlier, okay, is it meet up your expectations? Okay, sometimes it doesn't. Okay, sometimes it doesn't. If it doesn't, then at least you know. Okay, there are some other things that I do not know, but now I know. So in other words, new knowledge gain. Okay, when you do this particular checking. Okay, and finally, behavioral CQ. Behavioral CQ is very simple. It's actually where you execute, you implement, you take these particular actions. Okay. So if your Japanese so-called friend, okay, brings you to eat in a Japanese restaurant, for example, okay, then you know already, okay, before I eat, I must say the word itadakimasu, okay, because of this particular, to show my appreciation and so on. Okay, so during that time, you must exhibit this particular behavior as well. Okay, so it can be in terms of verbal behavior. Okay, verbal behavior basically means you say it out lah, verbal. Non-verbal behavior, it can mean your body movement and so on. Okay, as well as speech acts, basically means that I do it because of this particular reason. So you know the reason, you know the context behind it. All right. Do I still have time left? Okay, I'll try to go faster a bit lah. Okay, so sometimes we try to so-called for every cross-cultural management, we have best practice. Okay, some of it is something like this. First thing is that, okay, in every team, in every division, in every company, you need to promote cultural awareness and sensitivity. Okay, the best way. Let me see. Oh, okay, it's not for me. Sorry. Okay, so cultural training, okay, is the best way for the employees to know more about different employees, different friends, different colleagues background, cultural background and so on. Okay, so this way they'll have a better understanding, okay, about it, and they'll be able to know, okay, how to handle it as well. Okay, then sometimes you can also provide this thing called diversity education. Okay, so tell them why is it having a cross-cultural team, for example, okay, will be beneficial to the team, will be beneficial to the company and so on. Okay, so educate them about it. Okay, then of course early on I talked about cultural intelligence, which is very important, okay, in this cross-cultural management. So this way these particular organizations can try to do something about it in terms of cultivate, in terms of increasing, okay, this particular cultural intelligence among their team members, among their employees and so on. Okay, so for example, okay, this particular company in Malaysia, okay, actually provide this particular CQ development training programs, okay, with different area of focus. Okay, so this just to show you some example, okay, about this cultural intelligence so-called training program. Okay, so let's move on. Okay. Then another one, okay, best practice, encourage open and inclusive communications. Okay, so whenever you communicate, try your best to be direct, okay, and have a direct communication. Okay, here it also means that use simple language. Okay, don't use a very technical type of so-called language, okay, that other people might have difficulty to understand and so on. Okay, then active listening. So whenever whenever your friends, your colleagues communicate with each other, pay attention, okay? Be active listener. Don't be passive listener. Really try to understand what is the context, what is the so-called, what is the context that your friends are trying to deliver it to you and so on. They always adapt to the communication styles, okay? So here we have this high context and, sorry, I cannot see. High context and low context communication style. Okay, different culture tend to have that as well. Okay, so try to adapt accordingly. Okay, based on that particular person's culture and so on. If possible, have this multilingual support. Sometimes you can speak more than one language, isn't it? Okay, sometimes you will know Japanese language, Korean language, beside your own native language and so on. Okay, so if you have that, okay, you might be able to help your other friends, okay, in terms of interpreting what your Korean friends are trying to so-called discuss, okay, to that particular other friends, okay. Then we can also have this foster an inclusive workplace culture, okay. So the first one is celebrate cultural diversity. So in other words, okay, we don't look at your culture is my culture is better than your culture, that type of things, okay. We celebrate everyone's culture. Everyone's culture is equally good. So this is actually the basis of it, okay. So in other words, we want to make them feel welcome, okay. We want to make them feel appreciated, okay, working in our company and so on. So this is actually an example, okay, by an insurance company in Singapore, okay, Eastspring Investment. Okay. Okay, so we don't waste time. Okay, so we go back to our slide. And what else? Then sometimes we can have this create a support networks. Okay, this support network is basically known as ERG, Employees Resource Groups. So if we look at another slides, this is actually from Nestle USA. Okay, so it has some of these resource groups available, okay, for their own employees. So for example, they have their own Latino group or network, and they also have this particular Black Employee Association as well. Okay, so all of these are employees resource group. So this is actually to give support. Okay, it acts as a support, okay, to the relevant employees. Then of course, okay, we try to encourage participations from everyone. Okay. Participation is good because it means that okay, participation is good because it means that okay, we value okay your feedback. Okay, we value your ideas okay in our company and so on. Okay, so you'll feel more engagement, okay, which might increase okay your so-called OCB, organizational citizenship behavior in that particular organization as well. So this is a good thing actually. Okay, so this is actually another training. Okay, it's quite similar to what I mentioned just now. Okay, but this time we can have leadership development programs. Okay, we train managers. Okay, so that they'll be able to know how to manage diverse people from diverse culture properly in that particular department or in that particular team and so on. Okay, and finally we have this thing called continuous learning. In other words, learning will never stop. Okay, whether you like it or not, learning will never stop. Even at this point of age, okay, I'm actually quite old, okay. Even at this point at my age, okay, I still learn new things every day. Okay, likewise for this cross-cultural management practice, okay, definitely you're going to learn new things every day as well. Okay, then finally, okay, always do a so-called monitoring. Okay, always do an evaluations whether or not the practice that we are having in our organization, is it working? Okay, is there any problems? Okay, do we need to fix it and so on? Okay, so for example, we can have these regular feedback loops. Okay, so we can ask our members, for example, okay, do you have any problems with other people from different background, from different culture and so on? Okay, that type of things. Okay, you can do it in the form of survey and so on, or you can set up a hotline. If anything, just call this particular hotline. Okay, another person will try to assist you or handle it. Then whatever feedback that you receive, forgot to put this. Okay, so whatever feedback that you receive, okay, adjust. Okay, as long it is meant for the benefits, for the good of the company, okay, adjust it. Okay, based on this particular feedback. Okay, and always track the success metrics. Okay, monitor how is the impact of your cross-cultural management practice, especially on your team performance, okay, organization performance, and so on. Okay, so for example, you know Airbnb, right? Okay, Airbnb like to use this thing called people analytics. Okay, and one of the things that it do is that it check on the collaboration quality, okay, turnover rates, as well as this particular employee engagement. Okay, it wants to see different people from different background, from different culture. Okay, are they able to so-called increase, okay, this particular employee engagement? Are they able to increase the business performance and so on? Okay, if you are interested, you can actually have a look at this particular YouTube, okay, from this particular speaker, Belinda Bennett, about how Airbnb use people analytics, okay, for its HR purpose. Okay, now we look at some example. Okay, GoTo. Okay, so for those people that doesn't know what is this company called GoTo, okay, it is actually the combination plan, the merger. Okay, the merger of two big companies in Indonesia. Okay, Gojek and Tokopedia. Okay, so as you can see, this is a diagram. Now, one thing that we can see, okay, for this GoTo, okay, it has a diverse workforce. Okay, as you can see from here, okay, hold on. Okay, as you can see from here, it has diverse workforce from various cultural backgrounds, not just in Indonesia, but also in countries like Singapore, Vietnam, Thailand, where it has operation, where it has business in over there. Okay. So as an example, as you can see, it won the Best Employer Awards in 2022 for inclusive diverse workplace and so on. Then you also have global partnerships, okay? It formed quite a number of alliances, like Google with Google, Facebook, Tencent, and so on, okay? So whenever you have this partnership alliance with different companies from different places and so on, definitely your cross-cultural management, like communications, okay, must be top-notch, must be good and so on, okay? And then you also can learn a lot of things from them as well, okay? And especially in terms of their best practice, okay? And this is an example, okay, where GoTo partner with IFC. IFC is an international finance corporation, which is considered as a subsidiary group, okay, for World Bank, okay. Then we have this GoTo partners with Alibaba and GoTo partners with TikTok, okay. So with this type of international collaborations, okay, their cross-cultural management must be at the highest level, okay. Then, of course, they have this particular local adaptation as well. Okay, local adaptations, we can have a look first, like here. Okay, so as you can see from here, early on, before it become GoTo, Gojek by itself wants to expand to another country. Okay, so here it said that it wants to look at the local culture as well for that particular expansion in the country where it wants to expand. Okay, then here it also partners, okay, with a company in Vietnam. Okay, Duck Bike, which is a local company in Vietnam. Okay, so this is an example of these local adaptations. Okay, so in general, this is known as localizations, right? Then of course, we have this leadership initiative. Okay, so that means as a leader, okay, you need to lead by example. Okay, and GoTo is very good in this. Okay, so if we look at the top people in GoTo, okay, Thomas here, Simon here, and Pablo here. They are not Indonesian. GoTo is an Indonesian company, okay? But these three persons are not Indonesian. Thomas is from USA. Simon is a Canadian. Pablo here is an Australian, okay? But having different having different nationalities is still not good enough, okay? These three persons, for example, must have experience working in different cultural settings. Like for example, working in different countries and so on. Okay, so let's have a look at this Thomas. Okay, so as you can see, before working in GoTo, Thomas has experience in Hong Kong, okay, Saudi Arabia, okay, and of course Indonesia. All right, so this already tells you that this particular leader, okay, has experience in so-called managing, okay, employees from different background. Okay, the culture in Hong Kong, Indonesia, and Saudi Arabia, okay, are not the same. Okay, there will be similarities, but there will also be differences. Okay, so this is what it means by lead by example by this particular Thomas. Okay, so this is about leadership initiative. Okay, so I think that's all for me. So if you have any question, okay, besides asking from here, you can reach me in this by this particular email. Okay, I'll pass this back to Alicia. I hope I'm not taking too much time for this. All right, thank you very much. Actually, Alicia, I cannot hear you.
Okay, sorry. Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Kuek Thiam Yong, for your explanations. Maybe from our student, if you have any questions, you can just write in the text box, or you can raise your hand so you can ask your question to Mr. Kuek directly. Is there any questions?
I'll try my best to answer.
Yeah, I think that was interest topics for you.
Yeah, it is. Because I like to so-called explore cultural things from different country, different ethnicity and so on. Especially
Yeah.
the communication part. Okay, so for example, you know the thumbs up, this thumbs up. Okay,
What?
oh, thumbs up. Okay,
Yeah.
it means good, isn't it? It means you are good, isn't it? Okay,
Yeah.
but don't do this in Middle East
Why?
because it means another thing.
Oh, I
What is that
see.
thing? You can Google it lah. Then another universal sign language.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
Right.
okay.
Don't do this in Brazil.
Why?
Brazil. Okay. You try to Google what it means by this in Brazil.
Oh, okay. I will
All right.
try to Google next.
We do this in Asian countries, it's okay. It's not a problem. Okay. But don't do
Yeah.
this in Brazil because it has different meaning. All right. So this is just some sharing. Okay.
Yeah.
So I hope everyone will be able to bring back some of my sharings. Okay.
Okay, maybe I have one question for you,
Sure.
Mr. Kuek. So, what do you think about what is the big impact of the cross culture in our management practice?
The impact will definitely be great. Okay. Because as I mentioned early on, okay, nowadays you cannot run away from diversity. Okay. So if you look at, let's say, a lot of these particular organizations, they tend to hire different people from different backgrounds and so on. Okay. Someone saying something?
Sorry, my colleague said something.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
Sorry.
So that's why whether you like it or not, you must work together, okay, with people from different backgrounds and so on. Okay. Partly because of globalizations. Okay. Globalization basically means that the world is getting smaller. Okay, the world is getting smaller. All right. So that is why, as I mentioned, you cannot run away from that. Okay. So the impact will definitely be beneficial, okay, to the organization and so on. Another thing is that different people from different cultural backgrounds, okay, how they think, okay, the idea and so on, right, tend to be different, okay. And then from this particular aspect, okay, we can actually use it. If it fits into our business plan, for example, we can actually use it and so on. All right. So another example is actually something like if you are working with this particular Western company, okay, you might have this particular hybrid strategies. Okay. Let's say, for example, as I mentioned before, in terms of Western countries, they tend to prioritize on individualism. Okay. For us, Asian, we tend to look at more into the collectivism decision making. Okay. So if you work together with them, okay, like let's say, for example, we do a reverse. Okay. So let's say that a Westerner is working with us. Okay. He or she cannot impose isn't it? Okay, his culture on us. Okay, likewise, we actually cannot do the same thing. What we can do is that we can actually so-called come with a compromise. Okay, give and take. All right. So give and take can create a hybrid strategies. Okay. So instead of 100% individualism or 100% collectivism, okay, maybe the hybrid strategies will be a decision making based on individual initiative with collectivism decision making. Okay, so that can be a hybrid strategies which might be workable, okay, for the company, not just in Malaysia or not just in Indonesia, okay, but you can also apply it to your subsidiary companies in other countries as well. That's all.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Kuek, for your explanation. Maybe from our student, if you have any questions, you can just, oh, we have one questions for our students, from our students. So, Zulkifli said you've explained to us about business that have successfully managed cross-cultural aspect in their operation, like Goto, as you mentioned earlier. In
Yeah.
your opinion, are there any business that have failed in the managing
Actually,
cross-cultural?
there are
If
actually a few.
so, could you
Okay.
provide example?
But I would not say they fail. They learn from a mistake. Okay. Like in my so-called example just now. Okay. I give you the example of what's the name already? Coca-Cola. Okay. I give you the example of Mercedes-Benz. Okay. They failed at that particular point. Okay. But they know their mistake. Okay. They learn from a mistake and they rectify it. Okay. Another example is Nike. Okay. Nike, when they first expand to Middle East, okay, they make a mistake with their so-called their company logo. Okay. You know the Nike company logo is a tick, isn't it? It's a tick. Okay. But at that time, they feel very creative. Okay. They are very artistic. Okay. So instead of just a tick, okay, they make it very artistic. Okay. Go up, go down, little things. Okay. Until this particular wordings represent something. Okay. Represent something so-called that the Middle East people feel very offended. Okay. Because the wording actually means the God, okay, of their religion. Okay. Why is this so-called, why do they feel offended? Okay. For a very simple reason. Okay. You are wearing a shoes, okay, with that particular marking in it. Okay. So it doesn't sound good. Okay. I cannot go into details because religion thing, it can be very, very so-called very sensitive. Okay. So this is one example. Of course, Nike, okay, realized their mistake. Okay. So they quickly pull out, okay, their shoes productions at that particular Middle East. Okay. Then they rectify it and so on. Okay. So that's why it's very important. Okay. For this particular company, okay, before they venture into another country, learn the culture first. Okay. And it is always wise to engage the local people. Okay, let's say that I want to expand my business to Korea, for example. Okay. And at this particular time, I might lack the knowledge about the Korean culture and so on. Okay. So instead of doing this particular research on my own, okay, maybe I can engage a Korean consultant based in Korea itself to advise me on the cultural business aspect of Korea before I actually go into it. Okay. So this is just one example.
Okay, thank you. We have our next questions. How we can deal with the conflict of interest in culture from Firdaus Nemrin.
Okay. How to deal with the conflict of interest in culture? Okay. The best way is have a so-called compromise. Okay. It basically means give and take. Okay. So as I mentioned earlier on, okay, no culture is the best. Okay. Every culture has its own good and the bad things and so on. All right. So compromise here basically means that, okay, I will accept your culture. Okay. Or I will adapt your culture. I will follow a culture. Okay. But in return, okay, I also would like you to do the same for my culture and so on. Okay. So this is where hybrid strategies will come in at the end of the day. Okay. So this is one thing. Another thing is, okay, have an open communication with each other. Okay. Why is it you don't like my culture? Please tell me. Okay. And why is it, okay, why is it you don't like my culture? Okay. So open communication is very important. Okay. In a sense that we want to find out the root of the problem. Okay. And this applies not just about this particular cross-cultural thing. Okay. This also applies to a lot of this particular business problem as well. Okay. So once you know this particular the root cause, okay, why is it you don't like my culture? Why is it you don't like to follow my management this particular cultural practice and so on? Okay, then we can do something about it. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Kuek. From another student, do you have any questions again? If you have any question, you can just raise your hand if you want to ask directly to Mr. Kuek, or if you want to ask in the chat box, you can just write there. Okay, so from Mr. Kuek explanation, the important thing from the cross culture is compromise, right?
And tolerance
Yeah, and tolerance too. So
and respect.
okay, and respect too. So we have three important things from the cross culture in our daily life, right?
Ah,
So
yes, yes. Because after all, we live in a multi-racial and multicultural so-called community nowadays.
yeah,
Ah.
yeah. When I go to Malaysia, I find so many culture. I find people from China, and then the Malaysian people, and then we also find from India. So we met with different people there. Also
Yes.
Indonesia. In Indonesia, we
Yeah.
also have many culture.
Ah.
Like,
So that's why we try to learn from each other. As I mentioned, continuous learning.
yeah, yeah. Okay, I think there are no more questions again, so I think we can end this online class now.
Ah.
And for all students, if you have any questions, you can just contact us. You can contact me, so I can send your question to Mr. Kuek. And okay, thank you, Mr. Kuek, for your participation in this online class. That was a amazing explanation from your.
Thank you very much for the invitation.
Yeah,
Thank you
I
very much
also it's an
attending me.
honor to have you here also.
It's an honor for you for me to be invited here as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you. Okay, so for our students, I will share the attendance link in the chat box this way. Okay, so all thank you so much for your participation in this AIBPM online class. And we will see you again in our next online class on the next weeks. And I will share the schedule on the WhatsApp group. So please stay tuned. So thank you so much for all. See you and have a good day.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you,
Have a good day.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Kuek.